Hey everyone, good afternoon. Happy Sunday. It is Sunday, April 16th, 2023. It's just after 5 p.m. New York City time. So the market will be opening back up soon here. And for the week, I don't trade on Sunday nights certainly, but just kind of got to the charts here. And so I just want to go through about 5 pairs that I'm watching for the beginning of this week for potential zones, structure areas for potential re-entry. I currently watch about 14 pairs right now, guys. So certainly there could be opportunities on other pairs that I don't trade. You can see most of the ones that I do down at the bottom here. The only one that's cut off on my screen capture here is Aussie dollar, Aussie yen, but you see everything else. And so, like I said, guys, these are the ones for the ones I'm looking at. And so let's just jump right into it. And I tell you, had a really strong week last week. I was up about 18% on the week in my account, so I was pretty happy about that. But always room for improvement. And I'll tell you guys, I'm always trying to improve. And my biggest challenge right now is holding on to trades beyond initial small profit targets. I do much better at cutting off losers really quick and managing risk. I don't really have any issue with that. It's just holding on to my winners is what I need to work better on. And I'm experimenting around with Heikin-Ashi charts just for that purpose. I have decided I don't like using them for entry purposes, but for trade management and, kind of just staying with the trend, I think there's some value in them, which I've talked about in previous videos. So anyways, let's just jump into a couple of these, and we'll just go through them here. So let's start with the pound Canadian. So here's the pound Canadian. Here's the daily chart. You see I have this rectangle here. This is this area the price is coming into here is a very popular zone. You can see we've been back to it 1, 2, and now a third time here on the daily chart. Okay, so if we go down to the 4-hour and look at this, here it is on the 4-hour, and you can see, we've come back into this zone again. So I don't try to guess what it's going to do from here, guys. For you supply and demand aficionados, I know they say, look, this zone's already been used because it pulled out of here, it came back. So here was the retest here, came up, and now it's coming back again. And so, like I said, a lot of times the supply and demand traders will say this is not a valid zone to go long off of because it's already been, quote, used. I'm not going to make that bias. I have no idea. This is a pretty aggressive move back into this zone, but of course a lot of this was Friday, so I take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, especially this last candle on the 4-hour chart. And so this is definitely one I'm looking to keep an eye on. The one thing I did notice here is that when it came out of this zone here, you can see we went up. We failed to make a new high. We didn't even come back to the previous high. So that could suggest a little bit, that the buyers have run out of steam and that we may break lower. Because again, we had an impulsive move out of here, but you can see, like I said, it never got back to this high. It certainly didn't go any higher. So I'm just going to watch this zone basically inside this rectangle and then maybe even a little bit below here. For a potential false break, because you do see that you got to be careful where the large traders will push the price down, close the price outside of this support zone, and then suck in a bunch of sellers and just to push it back up again. So you definitely got to watch for false breakouts here, but we'll keep an eye on it. And then what I like to do is go to a shorter time frame. Here's the 1-hour chart. Obviously, you can see that zone here on the 1-hour. We had this long wick here that bounced off. We don't have that wick here, but again, this was the close of the week, so I don't put a lot of weight into these last few candles here on Friday. And then, to look for potential areas to get back in. Obviously, here's that zone again. Here's the rectangle. This is the 15-minute chart now. So this is definitely an area to watch, okay? So anyways, it's just on my watch list. I don't have any bias of what it's going to do from here. You know, we do have this double top on the daily chart, this high and this high, and like I said, on this pushback up, we failed to make a new high, so it could suggest some bearish price action is ahead, but, you know, we'll see how it goes. And if we do get, you know, a break lower than, you know, the first couple of good initial targets is, you know, down around here, and then down here for sure. And then, you know, obviously if it happens to break through these two levels, which, you know, are pretty far away, that's 350 pips from this level and 480 pips from this low. So you got a long way to get there, but if it happens to clear both of these areas, then there's really not much to stop it from, you know, falling a lot further. So it's definitely one I'm keeping an eye on going into this week. All right, pound dollar. Let me see on pound dollar here. Let's see here on some different time frames. So daily chart, not really much to see there. Okay, so on the 4-hour chart, obviously we've got an important zone right here on the 4-hour chart. Okay, on the 1-hour chart, we're actually sitting right about at a zone. So this is an hourly zone. You can see the market literally just reopened while I was talking here. So anything that we see on these candles right now are really, I'm not paying any attention to these at all, because literally the market just reopened. So, all right. So anyways, but I'm going to keep an eye on these. So this is another one for pound dollar, whether we get a nice reaction off of here, or whether we break through here, come back into this zone. And, you know, then I'd be looking for potentially a move back to the upside. And if we clear this zone to the downside, then my bias will probably shift bearish. All right, so pound dollar is another one that I'm looking at. CAD Swiss. I did take a long on this already, which I got out of because I day trade mostly. I did take a long off of here, off of this zone right here, and I got out of it, you know, I think somewhere up near these highs. But I still think this is going to go quite a bit higher. You can see on the daily, though, we've still been in a significant downtrend. But you can see we came down here, failed to make a new low. And we came back right into this zone and had some really bullish price action right off of here. Okay? And this is one of those times, guys, where it didn't get back to the low. So in other words, this was the actual low zone was down here, and you can see it didn't make it that far. It came down to here, and it bounced off of that area. Okay, and sometimes that's going to happen where the actual demand zone, you have to go to a shorter time frame to see it, and you can see, you know, right in here, this obviously you can see all the congestion in here. There's a lot of trading going on in this zone with all these, you know, this sideways price action. So even though you draw out these zones at these structure areas, like let's say initially you wanted to look at this area right here, it never got there, okay? Now, in reality, this thing could just turn and keep going down from here. We haven't really taken out a true structure swing yet to the upside. That would probably be like right here. I mean, I guess you could consider this one as a structure high, and we did take that one out to the upside. But so this is just sometimes you have to be a little bit flexible on your zones. And so, you know, even if you just draw like a rectangle to cover this whole area, although it's a pretty wide area. I mean, if you did something like this, you know, you can say pick up this whole area from these swings down here to this down here. Okay, so but either way, I'm going to be watching CAD Swiss. I'm leaning towards this continuing to go up, but I'm not sold on it because, you know, we have been in a pretty significant downtrend. But you can see, you know, on the daily chart again, you know, we ran up here, we came down, we ran up, we came down. We were not able to take out this low down here, and it looks like there's a lot of buying going on here. So I am thinking that this probably will continue up. So my bias on this is kind of to the upside, but we'll see what happens. Okay. And on the 1 hour chart, again, here's that kind of minor structure area. I was showing you on the 4 hour, I was saying this was the main one, but if you go to the 1 hour, you actually can see this right here. this swing high that we've now taken out, and price is now trading right around it. So that's why I'm thinking this definitely could be pushing back to the upside. Okay. And if we go back to our pound Canadian, if the Canadian dollar is going to push higher, that would, again, you think about correlated pairs. So this is the pound CAD. So if the Canadian dollar is going to strengthen, then depending what the pound itself does, the pound stays neutral or weakens, then that would probably push this pound CAD, through this structure and down lower. So that's why you have to think about these correlations between the different pairs. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on CAD Swiss, but that's another one on my list. And another CAD pair, this is dollar CAD. All right, on the daily chart, you can see we've come back into this zone again, and we've been here multiple times. You probably consider this 1 time, 2, 3, now 4 times we've been back to this zone. In terms of highs, again, we had this high up here. Price came down, tried to push back up, failed to make a new high or even come back to this previous high. So now we're back into this structure zone again. On the 4-hour chart, you can see we did have a nice bounce off of this zone on Friday, earlier on Friday. Basically the first half of the New York session right here, this big blue candle. And then later in the day, of course, we sold off, which is, Friday price action. Here it is on the 1-hour chart. You can see it looks a little more impressive in terms of this bounce right off the zone. And so we'll see, where this one goes. Again, we failed to make a new high here. We have multiple attempts on this zone right here. You can probably just drag this over a little bit. You can probably, if you don't want to use the rectangles, you can just use a couple of trend lines here for your zone. All right, and so I'm just watching this area here. If we break through all this structure and take out this low, which this will take a little bit because this is the daily chart, then certainly I would expect this to continue down. If we, get more bullish price action back up here, continuing tomorrow into Monday, then I'd be looking to take this long. Of course, that would be a conflict against my thought on the Canadian Swiss and the pound Canadian, but it all depends, which currency ends up being stronger, right? So that's pound CAD. That's another one that's at it. Basically, guys, I'm looking for things that are at key structure areas on the daily 4-hour, 1-hour chart. It's very easy just to click through and just see where things are at. And the last one is the euro. And again, you can see on the euro, here's the 1-hour chart. So this is a nice 1-hour structure area. We went up, made this too high, came all the way back down into this zone, had a little bit of bullish price action pulling back out of it again. If we go to a shorter time frame, okay, here we are here. All right, doesn't look quite as impressive here. So if we go out to the daily, can't really see much on the daily. On the 4-hour, here's that zone on the 4-hour. You can see it also lines up with this zone, pretty much lines up with this old highs over here. So again, previous resistance now becoming support. If it breaks through here, then the next real big structure zone on the 4-hour is probably way down here. So this is another one that's at a key spot right now, and we'll see what it does. If we get this some nice bullish price action continuing up, then I'd probably be looking to be long this pair. But if this is just a little false break and we end up getting a close back below these lows, then I'd be looking to be a seller, probably back down into this area down here. Although I do think this area right here is an area of interest as well as previous demand zone right here. So this area could be an area where price might get hung up if it does sell off right in this area here. But otherwise, back to this previous swing low could be a possibility for a target. Okay, so that's the euro dollar, and again, just based strictly on these zones, guys. That's all it is. All right, and I don't try to prejudge them. If we were in a strong trend one way or another, you have to assume the trend's going to keep going, guys. So on the euro, we had this big uptrend here. We had this pullback, still in an uptrend, made a new high. So, until that proves otherwise, you have to assume that this is going to keep going up and that these are just pullbacks. You can see the pullbacks on the euro dollar can be very big. I mean, look at this one right here. Look at this one. Look at this one. From here to here. So this pullback here is really not that impressive compared to some of these other ones. So these, look at this one right here. This had to be a news candle, but push up all the way back down 100%, one giant candle, and then look at how price took off. So even though this looks pretty bearish, guys, the trend is still up, and until it shows otherwise, you have to assume that we're just going to continue to retest support and then go back up. All right. So again, I try not to go in with any bias on these, and if this does break through to the downside, then I'll reevaluate it. But at the moment, anyways, I'm looking for this to go up. So, but I got to see confirmation. I don't just jump into these trades. So, all right. So that's the 5 pairs I'm looking at, guys. Just to start out of the 14 or so that I follow. It's not to say that there aren't other opportunities. There's some other pairs that I just don't see anything clear right now. So for how I trade, so I'm just gonna. I look at every pair every day, at least a couple of times a day. Sometimes things start to, look more clear, and patterns start to set up, and trends start to, and, most importantly, trends start to set up. So that's what I'll be looking for going into the start of the week, and then we'll reevaluate as we go. All right, so I'll leave it there, guys. Is there any questions, comments on any of this? Obviously, just go ahead and drop it down below in the comments. I do read and respond to everything, assuming they're legit. And please smash that like button right now, please. That helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you're just finding the channel, obviously subscribe and ring the bell notification down below, and so you get notified when I post new content. I want to maybe do one on a quick review of some of my trades from this previous week. But I didn't want to do that in this video and make it too long. So I'm going to leave it there, and be on the lookout. I might try to make another one just with a quick trade review for next week. But I wanted you to at least look at, show you what I'm looking for the beginning of this coming week. All right, guys, that's it. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll catch up really soon.